This is Hannibal from thehannibaltv.com, and I'm with the lovely Barbara Goodish, who is the widow of Frank Bruiser Brody Goodish, who is receiving the Frank Gotch Award here this weekend at the George Tragoz Thesz Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa. What does this mean to you with Frank getting this award?
You know how it is. It's 30 years since his untimely passing, and to still be awarded in this most prestigious place is just, I mean, what an honor it is that even after 30 years he is still being awarded this incredible honor.
And you drove up here from Florida, so you made quite a trek to get here.
No, didn't really drive. Flew into Minneapolis and then had a friend, Darla Staggs, who drove us down here. Then we'll go back. She'll drive us back to the airport, and then we'll go back to Florida.
And you have some guests with you, such as Bruiser Brody's sister and Tony Gurria, among others.
Yes, it sure is. There's Gail Allison, which is his brother, her brother, a younger brother. She was the oldest of the 4 children. There was 3 girls, 1 older, 2 younger, and then Frank was the son. So it's an honor for her, because she really didn't know what her brother did for a living.
And you wrote the book on Bruiser Brody, Wrestling's Last Rebel. Well, I still consider myself a rebel, so you may not be the last rebel.
I think he was hardcore before even hardcore became hardcore.
Oh, he's definitely the most hardcore wrestler of all time, without question.
I think he would be totally amazed that 30 years, that he is, I think, more remembered today and more known today, more famous today than what he was before all the social media.
Oh, he's definitely one of the most famous wrestlers in the history of wrestling. He's getting more famous all the time, as you said.
And I think one of the most incredible things that happened at the CAC this year was this young gentleman came up to me and mentioned about Frank and said how he watched all his YouTube interviews, he read my book, and I asked him, well, how old are you? He said 29 years old. He was not even born when Frank passed. And he told me that Frank is such an influence. He wrestles. He was wrestling at the matches. And he said, what an influence. He said, I love his style of wrestling. And maybe the old-fashioned wrestling might come back.
I wouldn't hold your breath on that. I think the closest you're going to get to that these days is probably MMA, as much as it would be nice.
The old school.
And what about your son? He looks like he could have been a wrestler, but he doesn't seem interested, probably for obvious reasons. Was he any bit of an athlete, like a football player or anything? Basketball,
football, baseball. He did all. Going to school, he did all the way through school. But then after school, after high school and that, he went on to other things. But no, he did enjoy sports, and he loves basketball. But life comes in the way.
What does he think about this legacy of his father? I'm sure he must get approached by fans too here and there.
I think he's finally beginning to realize, even though he's going to be 38 years old in November, I think he's finally realizing how important his father was. See, you have to remember, he was only 7 years old when his father passed. So he really doesn't remember too much. And when the fans ask him, he feels bad because he doesn't have that many memories. And I think that's really the saddest thing, is that he doesn't have memories of his father because he was so young. But now, because of the Bruiser Brody Hardcore page, the Facebook page that people have created, that he sees what people talk about him and how people relate to him. So I think he's beginning to suddenly realize how important his father was in so many people's lives.
Speaking of memories, do you have a favorite memory of you two?
I think it was, I think the memory I have is that when he used to go to the airport, you could see him change from being husband and father to his character. And then when he came back, he changed back, that he knew how to define the two. He never did become the character. And I think that's maybe why he is still remembered today, because when he wasn't the character, he could talk to people, which kind of amazed them. That here was this big, rough-looking gentleman that could sit down and talk about stocks and talk about different things, because And some of the younger fans that have even approached me and have sent me messages, they even said that they remember seeing him and they were so scared because of this huge, big giant of a man. And then all of a sudden he would bend down and talk to them. And it showed me that you can't judge a book by its cover, that you have to get to know people. It's not appearances. So many people take appearances and they think that that's the person. Sometimes you have to get to know the person and realize that it's inside. It's not how we look sometimes.
And amongst the wrestler, he had to act a little tough and be a little standoffish because it's a dog-eat-dog business, right?
That's exactly. I couldn't say it better myself.
Well, it's a pleasure and honor to talk to you again. I think with my head now, I'm almost as pretty as
what
you.
happened to you? Look at this.
Just little scuffles here and there. I'm almost as pretty as your husband, but I'm not quite there yet.
Oh my God, what happened? Long
just
story.
Little scuffles here and there, but thanks a lot for talking to us. And people can follow you. You have a Facebook, Barbara Goodish.
Right, and then Bruiser Brody Hardcore. Before Hardcore is the Facebook page that anybody that's interested, there's a lot of great information, a lot of great pictures on there, pictures that I've never seen. And that's what makes me, what an honor. I have to say to everybody out there that still follows, thank you. Just to keep his memory alive. You cherish that he is still alive in so many people's hearts. And it's just unbelievable. And this is unbelievable, this wonderful place here for this weekend that he's going to be honored, that makes me speechless sometimes.
Well, we at the Hannibal TV definitely try and ask our guests that knew him about him and try and share positive memories more and more as time goes on to keep his legacy alive. And people that want to buy your book, all about Bruiser Brody, the hardcore wrestling's hardcore rebel, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, definitely in anybody's top 5 that's a real wrestling fan. Where can they buy that?
They can send me a private message, and I have some books on hand, or I think Amazon or eBay. But yeah, if they want it signed, they can send me a private message and make sure that I know that it's a private message.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us, and congratulations on your husband's induction.
Thank you very much, Devin.